Good morning. I know this isn't what you had in mind when you were thinking you'd be starting worship right at 10 o'clock, but I wanted to take a minute to truly welcome you to my home for worship today. That's where I'm worshiping from. I needed to offer a couple of thanks, but first, I think some of you might not be on our mailing list and may not receive updates about worship. So first of all, I want to direct you to our website, eternalhills.org. At that website, you can catch up on what our worship entails for the coming week, and you can also find click-through buttons at the top of the page that will take you to a copy of our bulletin, and it will take you right to our YouTube page where you can find worship ready to stream. We will start worship in a little bit, but I want to remind you first about home communion. It's a little different than we've ever done before, but these extreme times call for some flexibility. Today, I want you to gather at your home your own bread and cup. That could be anything from crackers and water to donut and coffee, or coffee cake and juice, or bread and wine if you have some on hand. It's your choice. Take a moment to gather those materials, the elements of our communion together, and have them ready for when we begin worship. There's also some words of gratitude I want to share to my son, Paula Steinbacher, who has worked so hard to put these worship services together. I absolutely could not make worship happen as uniquely as it does during this time without his hard work. I know he puts in right now about probably 20 hours or more a week editing and compiling, and it takes us all day to shoot a worship service. So thank you, Stephen. You're doing a great job, and everybody so appreciates it. Special thanks to Tony for being flexible enough to record at the studio so that we can avoid spreading the virus and sharing the virus. And to Tracy Maddox and all those others that you see involved in worship from now and then, who are so willing to come in and follow our guidelines for COVID safety while we are trying to keep our social distancing, but try to encourage spiritual closeness. I hope you're finding this worship to be a way to keep in touch with your church family, but also to bring you close to God, to give you that time to worship at home that we may not have had if we'd had to just stop having services. So once worship begins, I invite you to truly engage yourself in worship. I hope you can print off the bulletin, and I hope that you can follow along with the words. When it's time to stand, try standing and singing the Gloria Patri. And when it's time to sit and pray, just close your eyes and try to quiet yourself and still your heart and truly enter into prayer. I have a couple of prayer requests that came in through the night and a suggestion for our passing of the peace. First of all, I try to give you a challenge or a charge each week for the passing of the peace. This week, I've encouraged you to reach out and write a note to somebody, and I wanted to say it is Chuck Wickland's 91st birthday this week. So if you would like his address and you would like to extend a greeting to him during this week, I know he would love to hear from his church family. Please call the church office if you don't have his address. We also would like to lift up prayers for Cassandra Stone. She's been ill this week. She's one of our online viewers, and we ask that you would keep her and her family in your prayers. Actually, she's Rockstone's sister, but her name is Cassandra Flomo. If you'd like an address for her to send a card, please call the church office as well. We remember with great thanks Sarah Squires this morning. She's a retired UMC pastor who has been leading our Eternal Hills preschool through this time of trying to find a new executive director who can keep track of all the budgets and do the tuition planning and help our teachers stay on track with their licensing and all the details of the the paperwork that needs to be done. Thank you so much, Sarah, for your efforts there. And we just praise our teachers and especially our program director, Chrissy Morrow, for the way that they have kept our families connected during this downtime. We do have a meeting called a congregational meeting, and that will be on May 31st by Zoom. You'll be receiving details about that in the coming weeks. It has to do with engaging in the construction that we've planned for Project 2020. And I ask that you would be in prayer as we lead up to that meeting so that we can discern how we should move forward in this new world that will be opening up before us. All right, so now go gather your elements for worship. We will begin the worship streaming at 10:10, and I do encourage you to check out our webpage. There's a place where you can enroll for our newsletters, and so that we can stay in touch with you through the week and after we return to our regular worship. A note about that too. I know people are concerned about the state opening up and wondering when we will be gathering together as a fellowship. Well, your session is praying and discerning even now to figure out the best time for us to start that. So I encourage you to also be in prayer. The most important thing for us is to make sure that everyone can remain healthy and everyone can also stay connected and be able to truly worship God. Families, I have a new worship pack for you to be able to pick up at the church. It has some activities for your children and some ideas for the prayers of confession that they may enjoy doing hands-on at home. Anyone else who's interested in that is welcome to try that as well. Now, I encourage you to go get your elements for worship and do your online chatting if you would like to welcome one another. We will be back in just 3 short minutes to begin worship together this morning.